What is going on, everyone? It's Sean with another Tesla video, and in this one I want to answer some questions from my community and subscribers here on YouTube. But before I get into that, I would love to invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. I talk all things Tesla and come from the perspective of a Tesla owner. Also, if you're in the market for an S or X, new or inventory, my referral code is down below. Now, let's get into some of those questions. All right, so if you saw my recent video announcing that I crossed over 1,000 subscribers, I invited you all watching to send me your questions. So let's get into the first question. This is from the Gagalgarios. Should Tesla be afraid of the Tesla killer? Well, you mentioned singular, but I've heard of many Tesla killers. And the answer is, which one? The one coming out in 2020, 2030, or in 2060? A little bit of a tongue-in-cheek response, but I do think it's interesting that in order to gather attention for the automakers' car that they're coming out with that's electric, that they have to call it a Tesla killer. It's a good sign for Tesla that they're the benchmark for electric cars. You don't ever hear anyone saying that they're coming out with a Chevy Bolt killer or a Nissan Leaf killer. It's a Tesla killer. So Tesla's done a great job. We'll see. The one that I'm most excited about is probably Porsche's Mission E. The concept looks fantastic. There were even some spy shots that were found when most likely the Mission E was doing some test driving. It had the entire car was covered in a wrap, and it apparently did not have any sound as it was driving. So I'm most excited probably about that one. Another one that I'm really curious about, which is not really a Tesla killer, is Bollinger's SUV. It looks sick. Sort of reminds me of like a 1970s Bronco, Ford Bronco. So Tesla killers, look out. All right, next question is from Rod Simmons. How do you check the tire pressure on your Tesla? The answer is I actually don't, because I take it into a local tire shop called Discount Tire, where they rotate my tires, check the air pressure, make sure there's no nails or things embedded in them. Also, when I take my car into Tesla, they do check out the tire pressure as well. So fortunately, I don't have to do that too often. I'm driving enough, actually, that I'm into one of those two places pretty frequently, at least once a month. All right, next question from Eddie A. Pedraza Kodo. He says, "Good afternoon, Sean. My name is Eddie Pedraza. Congrats on the 1,000 subscribers." Thank you, Eddie. I am interested in a Model S, and your videos are very helpful. Thank you. At this moment, I can't buy a new Tesla, so I'm looking for a CPO. My question is the following. What year can you recommend me that I should look at? I understand by your previous videos you have experienced on different years of Model S loaners. Thank you, and continue your videos. They are great. Have a good day. I have driven maybe 2 handfuls of Model S's, and what I do know is that my 2013 still had a lot of production issues, just using poor parts, and I've had issues with seals on brake light covers and water getting into the car. I've had issues with rattling, and I know that when I look at my car, there are some build quality issues. So panels may not be consistent all the way around the car, maybe just slightly misaligned. So my recommendation would be that to try and, if possible, avoid 2012 to 2014. I think 2015 and on, you're probably going to be safe with Tesla having worked out most of the issues. Now, the good news is that with 2015 and on, you're going to get Autopilot 1 hardware, which is really great. I think that one at this point is far superior to Autopilot 2.0. The other thing you're going to get is just more experience with Tesla producing the Model S. So you're going to get a better quality car in better quality parts. And lastly, if you do buy a CPO, a certified pre-owned Model S, and it happens to be a 2012 through 2014 or even beyond, you're going to be okay because it does come with a 4-year, 50,000-mile warranty, which covers any manufacturer defects or flaws. So you just take it in. They'll take care of whatever's wrong. No questions asked. They were really, really great during my first 50,000 miles of owning my used Model S. So, Eddie, great question. Thank you. Hasun Lee, aside from climate change values, what is the single best thing about owning an electric car over gasoline? Hasun, I would say performance and more specifically acceleration. I think the acceleration is just out of this world. There's a single gear transmission, so when you floor it, it's instant. There's no combusting of energy that happens. It's just an instant draw from the battery pack. And it's just really fun. It's really, really fun. You know that in most cases, if you pull up next to a car, you're going to smoke it because it's quick off the line and it's got instant access to energy. All right, next question from David Campbell. Hey, Sean, congratulations on 1,000 subscribers. Thank you, David. Proud of you, brother. I wanted to ask you a question. I'm one of your subscribers that's on the fence on obtaining a Model S 100D or a Model X 100D. My confusion is on what the difference between rated range and typical range. Sometimes this all seems confusing trying to decipher the variables and to understanding the chart. This is one reason why I haven't gotten to the last step of purchasing a Tesla. If I'm always calculating watts per kilowatt hour, rated range versus typical range versus rated range on off, this seems to take the fun out of driving. If you could shed some light on all of this, I would greatly appreciate it. Looking forward to hearing from you. The first question that comes to mind when I hear your concern is, how often do you drive? And I asked David this question, and he says about 100 miles round trip, not counting little chores like PTA or ball games for his son. And really that should address the concern completely, because with the 100D, S, or X, you're going to get about 300 or more miles of range, which if you're plugging in every night in your garage, you're going to be just fine. You're not going to have any issues with range anxiety. The only time that you're going to run into challenges with rated range versus ideal range is if you're going on long road trips often, or you're like me and you drive a lot for your profession. And for me, I'm in real estate, which, by the way, I'm going to do a video on this because I think a lot of people are wondering, how do you drive so much and what do you do? So I'm going to do a video on that. But that's aside. I think rated range and ideal range are important. If you were to keep it on one, it's probably rated range here in the US. Now I know, according to Tesla Bjorn in Norway, that they do it a little bit differently. And I think they actually do, typical range and rated range. Again, David, if you're only driving 100 miles a day, you're going to be fine. You're going to have 200 miles left over, which is a lot. It's a lot. But I might recommend doing a little bit of research on how Tesla does that. Both rated and ideal range are estimations. They're not always correct. And if you really want to get into what the best way to measure range is, you just charge it to 100% and then drive it all the way to zero or as close to zero as you can. And then you know from that point how many miles you can drive. All right, Tesla Fan Insight asks, will you get a Model 3? I'm definitely considering it. If you saw my last video where I compared Model S, Model X, and Model 3, I determined that the Model 3 definitely is very appealing for two reasons: price point and range. So for under $50,000, I can get a battery pack that has more than 300 miles of range. If I choose the Model S that has more than 300 miles of range, I have to spend $100,000. So for half the cost, I can get a car that goes almost the same. Now, the only thing that would change my mind on this, maybe, is if Tesla updated their battery pack for the Model S or Model X and did, let's say, 400 miles or more. That might get me to second guess. I think in general, for me at least, more range is better. And I kind of have a feeling that Tesla may update their battery packs to make an even larger distinction between the Model 3 S and the X. All right, that does it for all of my subscriber questions. Thank you so much. And if you're watching this video and you've got a question about Tesla or being an owner of a Tesla, feel free and put them in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you, and you might make it on to my next video where I answer my subscriber questions. So thanks again for tuning in, and if you are in the market for a new or inventory S or X, please use my referral code down below in the comments section and hit the subscribe button. And if this was a valuable video to you, hit that like as well, and that will help create more exposure for my videos so more people can see it. Until next time, see ya.